Hey there! Today, we're diving deep into how climate change is reshaping the game for us farmers. Yeah, you heard me. It's a new day. And the rules? They're changing fast. See, over the past few years, some unwelcome changes in weather patterns have been making it real tough on crop yields. We're talking longer droughts, unexpected frosts, and even too much rain when we least expect it. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's hitting pockets and putting our livelihoods on the line. Now, I'm not just talking about reduced harvests, I'm talking about the big decisions we gotta make. Deciding whether to plant or not because, let's face it, it's a gamble. And the stakes are high. Every seed, every acre counts. We're talking about investing in our future here. And when the environment throws a curveball, it means we might end up with nothing to show for it. But here's the kicker. We're adapting, we're learning to control our growing environments the best we can. From high-tech greenhouses to sophisticated irrigation systems, we're not just sitting back, we're taking the fight to climate change on our terms. And while it's a tough battle, it's one we're ready for, because that's what farmers do. We adapt, we overcome, and we keep pushing no matter what Mother Nature throws our way. So to all my fellow farmers out there feeling the heat, remember, we're in this together. Innovating, adapting, and growing, that's how we'll win. Stay strong, keep fighting, and let's show this climate we're not just here to play, we're here to stay.
And it's great to have the world's greatest framer of this situation that we're in, this food crisis, this worldwide food crisis. So I don't have to do a lot of framing because Michael's done that for me already this morning. I usually have to talk about, but we really do have a crisis, especially in our inner cities where more people worldwide are moving into cities. Actually, for the first time, more people live in cities around the world than in rural areas. So we have to figure out how to feed these folks today, but as we vision on the future, how are we going to feed all these folks that are moving without destroying totally destroying our environment? So I don't have much time, and believe it or not, there's 560 slides on this PowerPoint. I can do it in 20 minutes or I can do it in 20 hours. You know, we could spend a lot of time and have a great discussion. But I kind of want to show you some of the possible solutions to this issue of bringing food into especially our distressed communities, communities that Michael talked about, these food deserts that have been redlined by many retail grocery stores. So it's really a social justice, food justice work that we do in terms of getting food into those communities where people are under more stress and sicker than anybody else in our society because they don't have access to food. As a matter of fact, the facility you'll see here, our main farm, we have 10 farms. We're now farming. I just picked up another 50 acres of land in the city of Milwaukee. We're farming over 100 acres inside the city of Milwaukee. But this area that we operate our national, international training center is in a food desert. The closest retail grocery store is 4 miles away, east or west, on one of the busiest streets in Milwaukee. 5 blocks away is the largest public housing project. So we're really, those folks are really under stress. Many of those folks do not have transportation, so they have to travel very far. So what I'm going to do is take you through what I think is ag of today and ag of the future, of how we can grow food inside cities year-round, because we're a year-round food-producing organization. But we're not just, like Michael said earlier, and we're not just growing food, but we're growing community as well. Okay, these are the early years when I bought the last remaining farm in the city of Milwaukee. It looked like this as an Army Reserve base to the east. And this is what the kids look like back. Some of these kids are over 30 years old. There's something very significant about these kids. Anybody in this front tell me what's different about these kids than the kids today? They're outside. Okay, yeah, they're outside. They're what? They're 10, yeah, that's true. But there's something else. They have their pants pulled up, you know. So these were some of the early efforts we had in composting And just remember some of these earlier images of our facility. We moved along a continuum in this 19th century farm. These buildings, greenhouses were built. And we started composting on a larger scale. And we did vermicomposting back in those days in these boxes. And the greenhouses were a little cold because I had an old clunky boiler that we had to fix every night. Then we started an aquaponics system, which aquaponics is growing fish and plants in the same system. And we worked with youth, and one barrel was a fish tank, one was the weed tank, and one was a filter tank. And we put a air stone down the tank, and it moved water from tank to tank, and that replicated a clean river or stream. You could grow about 50 tilapia in about 6 months. So this was something that we used. And we also grew a lot of bedding plants that we used to decorate the different various organizations around the city and landscape them. And I also worked with a lot of youth in the community. And that's how we got embedded in the community and did our community organizing and engagement, starting with the youth that eventually brought the adults. And then one of the things that was happening, I noticed that the kids couldn't read or write, and they were getting passed on, so we instituted a reading and writing program based on the stuff that they were doing on the farm. And of course, one of the lost arts was canning. So back in those days, we did canning, and we worked with the kids in terms of their life skills around using tools and so forth. So as we moved along in the 90s, you know, the movement started growing. I also, back in those days, worked with the juvenile justice system. Some of these kids had been incarcerated in youth prisons, and they were coming back. So we would take compost, put it on top of the grass, grow these plants. The kids would give something back to society by donating what they grew. And then we would decorate complete blocks around communities. The island between the street and the sidewalk, we would plant flowers. I remember this project. This was a $50,000 landscape project. Of course, we only got paid $5,000, and that was to pass on to the kids. But the kids did this project with the plants that they grew in the greenhouses and provided summer job employment for those kids. And it helped to soften those communities, and crime went away. Then we would take vacant lots where drug dealers would hang out. I remember this was on 25th and Brown, and in one day we would transform that vacant lot into what I call these flower explosions. And drug dealers went away because people started looking at those lots in a different way, and drug dealers felt uncomfortable. Then we started getting visitors from other areas, and I started working. And
it hurt me to wake up and see my beautiful black people suffer, victimized by the oppressive, harsh realities of the hood. I guess even though we were free, we were still slaves in the mind. Message!
Crime-ridden areas like Inglewood, where there was a murder a day in that community. And in 1995, we got this front page article in Milwaukee Journal. I was volunteering doing this work. I farm 100 acres of my own farm south of the city. And once we got this article, I started getting requests from other nonprofits and schools for me to work with their kids. And that's how I got sucked into the work that I do today, through working with kids, of course. And now we're into the 2000s, where the movement has really grown. It's picked up. It's becoming more mainstream. Farmers markets are emerging. CSAs are emerging and so forth. So the facility took on a transformation as it became a training center for sustainable agriculture, small-scale agriculture, and we call it our community food center.
You know, it's kind of tough. Growing up in the hood without a positive male role model to look up to. Message!
How did you get into this whole thing?
Well, my sophomore year in college, I was in this class that was pretty silly. It was one of those like one of those classes that you kind of just had to take. It was like a history course. But luckily enough, the teacher teaching that, the professor, it was his last semester teaching this course. Okay. And he was an awesome, epic teacher, and he brought up this urban farmer named Will Allen. And I became obsessed with agriculture in this moment because the way Will Allen was doing his farming, it was like everything was symbiotic, everything worked together, and was organic and was a closed loop system. So I started writing all my papers on them, and then I was like, all right, well, I like farming, like maybe I should go work on a farm. So I went and I worked at Thera Farms after my sophomore and junior year of college. And then I was like, all right, I like hands-on farming. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like I always like had the sense, like I had the feel that like I just wanted to work for myself.
And our mission is to support community food systems locally, regionally, nationally, and now we do work internationally as well. 5 million people die a year worldwide because of poor water and lack of food. It's happening here in our inner cities where people, you go to corner stores because there are no grocery stores, and in corner stores all you have is processed foods. It's my belief that everybody, regardless of their economic means, should have access to the same healthy, safe, affordable food that's grown naturally. Well, a community food center is what we've developed here. That's a place where people can come for trainings to learn how to grow food, how to grow soil, how to grow energy. That's what we do here at Growing Power. And it's the future of our food system. If we want healthy local food, our new generation of farmers are going to come, they're not going to come from rural communities, they're not going to come from traditional farm families, because those things don't exist in our system anymore. These new farmers are going to come from folks that live in the city. What you see in these greenhouses is about relationship building. I don't build gardens with fences. Everybody's talking about, oh, we got to put up a fence